Hello there, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. It is Patrick here, Eggnoc Poker. New video today, and we're going to be jumping into the last review that I have on my list on the books to get done, and then we're jumping back into the NL2 to 200 series. So, who have we got today? We have got Mr. Elgart, or maybe Mrs. Elgart, I'm not actually sure, aka Stoicpoker24. So we're on NL2 on GG Poker today. So we're going to be going through this review. Again, as before, we're just going to be smashing it out and trying to get it done in one video. Not going to be doing it into two segments, but just going to be going straight into the action and jumping in. Just a few quick things. As always, guys, please please make sure you leave a comment on the video. Please subscribe. It makes a massive difference. Also, check out the Twitch links and everything else in the YouTube description below and take a look at that. Thank you so much. I am also not dead, as we said last time. I am going to be trying to pump out some more content ASAP for you guys. So, believe it or not, let's just get straight into the action. So NL2 is GG as the start of all these videos, as we always say. NL2, all these super micro stakes. Like, the only thing with considerations with GG over most of the other sites is because we are so rake heavy, like with something like 8 or 9 big blind per 100. We are going to be looking to be, and also getting raked pre, we're going to be looking to doing a lot of more sort of passive action and less 3-betting overall, but still relatively aggressive. With these 9s here, generally we'd be continuing pure as a continue. Just as a thing, just straight off the bat, because this guy's 3-bet to this ridiculous size and he's got the 17 VPIP, I'm just assuming this is a tighter range and a stronger hand. I can actually just get behind folding 9s. I think if he raised to a more generic size, then we can continue very, very easily. I think 9.5 is just a ridiculous size. You could probably still get away with calling, but I think I'd probably just pitch it. Yeah, I quite like folding here. Unfortunately, would have flopped a set, but it's irrelevant. If we feel like a play is a good play at the time, then the outcome later on, what if and so on, it's all irrelevant. Makes no difference. So again, because we're mindful of being raked pre, and depending on where you are in the world, you could be being raked anywhere, I believe, up to 9 big blind per 100 or something ridiculous. So, and being raked pre-flop. So we're a little bit less incentivized to go super aggro and a little bit more incentivized to sort of like, not so much just be cool happy, but just be a little bit tighter overall and a little bit more flop heavy and, you know, sort of play post with less sort of super aggro aggression pre-flop. But we can still be aggressive in certain spots, but just try not to be too over the top with it. Also, the just general population is just going to give us money, and also is going to be, you know, when they're sticking in tons of money, they're probably going to give hands. So we've got to be a little bit careful with who we're paying. Just looking to have good value hands ourselves. Unfortunately, even with 2 tables, there's still plenty of downtime, which is unfortunate, but is what it is. We'll get into some hands as they come in. Again, as always, these I've only had 30-second glance to make sure there's nothing dodgy on here, but there's no premeditated content, so I'm completely fresh to these hands. I have no idea when spots may come up also, so we'll be introduced to them together. The 10-9 offsuit as a fold in the big blind. Again, depending, like, I'd at least wait and see what happens. Maybe if the small blind opens, we can defend that one. Against the button, we can kind of go 50-50. What I might suggest is also, is just looking at this. It's just a bit nitpicky, but like starting to try and introduce some hotkeys into your game, if you're able to, would be really, really good. The A6 we can fold sometimes on the button. It's one of the worst ace-x suited to 3-bet. Button versus cutoff, we can ISO or 3-bet those though. I can get behind either, I think, in NL2, but yeah, just because the amount of time and effort it takes to actually drag your mouse wheel and click, you do cost yourself a lot of time, and it's speed is the key. Just quickly here, I'm just going to pause very quickly. So what I was going to say is, so ace jack off is a 3-bet versus UTG, especially a 3x, is a little bit aggressive. It's something we'd be doing almost like at a very low amount of the time. But the thing is, because we're playing more exploitative, because we're at NL2, right, we don't really give a shit about strategy to some extent. I think this is actually a bit loose against the overall pool. I know he's a 30 VPIP, fair enough, but my main qualm is not that. It's actually, if we just take a look here, the guy next to him who's just called for the 3x has got like 40 big blinds effective start the hand, and he's called 3x. I don't really want to just continue as a call over the top, but then also I don't really like the idea of 3-betting. I think I would 3-bet with ace queen because I'm probably just going to go with it, but with the 40 big blind guy. Ace check offsuit, I consider this too weak to 3-bet here versus UTG with a short stack call. The main reason is because I just feel if this guy goes all in, it's going to be really hard for us to kind of like, we're going to kind of push ourselves into a spot where it's like we're not really making any money by calling or folding. It's not a great situation at all. So probably just going to get away from this pre-flop in this exact scenario. Maybe ace-jack suited or ace-queen plus. But ace-jack off I think is a little bit too loose overall, but also just versus the shorter stack cold call versus 3x, it's just, you know. So here, if he does go all in, this is kind of a situation where I think, well, I mean, the guy's got kings. I don't think he's got kings often, but at the same time, it's like versus like a call into shove range. I'm just expecting to be very pair heavy, very strong Broadway. I'm not expecting him to like, if he had ace 10 or something, I don't think he goes all in. The same with like king queen suited. So I think we're going to be dominated or in one way or another, or sort of not doing that great. Meanwhile, we do spike what looks like a 2-outer because the ace of spades is dead. So getting there is always nice, but I think we should have got away from that one. It doesn't look like a super good profitable spot for me. Although getting there is always nice. This queen 10 off is way too loose. Way too loose. Queen jack off half the time, theoretically, but also when we're even higher rake, this is just a very easy fold. A little bit too aggressive. I like the size, but maybe just a little bit tighter under the gun there. Again, with the fast folds, I get it that you're in the big blind with 9-4 off, so you're not defending. But what you'll find is there might be a situation where the small blind limps to you and you get to like see a flop in position at least, rather than if you're folding, it's going to auto sort of fold you out. I believe when you get to the flop, if it limped to you, it would just kind of like auto check you, and then if they bet, you auto fold. Whereas it at least gives you a chance to like play the game. You know, maybe the guy's got a7 off and the board comes like ace 4-4 and you've got a 4, things like that, whatever it was, I can't remember your hand, but things like that. So I probably would wait rather than just sort of auto pitch them. Whereas when you're in the small blind, you know, just fold then. So poker 5, so this is something I brought up last time with the previous review. So remember your rake, remember your population. So just as a thing, right, realistically your money's not coming from like, you got to think about it in the sort of long term, right? You're playing these games, you're playing these stakes. You're not making a lot of money. You're not really making any money at all. In fact, you're probably losing money in these pools, in the rake, by just calling out of position with these low, very low pocket pairs to just try and effectively set mine. In a very low rake environment with very correct ranges, you will do a lot of small blind flatting. But like, this is a death rake environment with very tight players overall. So like you could argue that if I flop a set, then I'm gonna, you know, but it's extremely difficult to flop a set, and it's extremely difficult to double, and you still need your opponent to have the best hand. So what I'm saying is, it's not like we're defending the big blind where you know, we've already got a big blind invested, it's folded to us, we can defend, and it's pretty easy to play. But when you're kind of choosing to call versus a late position open, out of position, when you're getting raked 8 or 9 bigs and you're getting raked pre, it's going to annihilate your win rate long term. So it is actually super important. Just fold this. Like literally, like it's quite frustrating to think about, but like just get away from this. Like this is what's going to hurt your win rate long term. There's lots of small to medium kind of like losses that are just kind of unnecessary. As played, I think, yeah, we'd just be getting away from this also. I don't really want to sort of just call 3 bets, especially when I'm not even the aggressor and I'm out of position to both. So this ace-jack offsuit, so this is where I flip the coin over a little bit and just say, look, so don't get me wrong, we are in a high rake environment, so you can absolutely have some small blind calls. Like, this is okay. But what I might say is when you've got like better hands, so like ace-jack is a good hand, right? We can get value from a lot of worse hands. I would suggest 3-betting this at least some of the time in the small blind. If you're on like stars or ACR or something with a dip, like, which is also high rake, but you're not being raked pre, and you're being raked far less, it's like 4 big blind, 105, whatever it is. 3-betting and taking it down is also super good, as well as like 3-betting and getting continued. Here, it's like, I don't mind having the calls, but like, this is a good hand. I'd probably be 3-betting it pretty often. So just, again, like maybe be more aggressive with this. But yeah, anyway, so we do go for the call this time. We check, we face the bet. So I just really want to see check raise now. We've got a really good hand. We want to build the pot. So this call's not, in my opinion, we don't need to play this extremely trap heavy game style at all. When we've got really good hands, we want to be putting the money in ASAP. And there's lots of hands that can continue. So just for the sake of argument, let's just very quickly look at it. I'm not going to sit here and blabble, but like, you know, the button's got aces. Like, let's think of top of range very quickly. Aces, kings, queens, right? He's also got all the worst Jack X. He's opening Jack 8 suited, Jack 9 off, King Jack. Loads of really death hands we get tons of value from. He's also just got hands like King Queen and 8-9 and 7-9 suited and 10x and like pocket eights. Like ace queen, like ace king, like things with gutshers, whatever. Loads of hands that can continue. You've got the effective nuts right here, where we're going broke and we're going to get loads of worse hands to put tons of money in. So don't check call this and then go for like delayed raises. We want to build the pot directly. So you check raises flop, you nuke the turn, you nuke the river. Or if you're going to check the flop, check raise. You know, like if you, I don't like check calling, I don't like donking, but I like check raising and then blasting. Because it's too late by the turn, and if you check call the flop and then mysteriously check raise it looks very strong. Okay, so now, like, let's be honest. So I'm also not a big fan of this size, because I think when villain bets a flop and snap checks back the turn, it's not over pairs. It's not like ace 10, king 10. It looks like a pair of eights now. It looks like a pair of nines. It looks like ace king. Honestly, I would bet the river, but I would bet for about 4, maybe 3 big blinds. Get the call, get the crying call. I don't think you get a lot of calls from this huge size. In my opinion. So we open the ace 10 off. You can go small to medium, mostly preferring small and check back theoretically. But like in this pool, you've got a really good ace versus a big blind who's going to have like lots of worst suited ace X, loads of flush draws. I would be betting a lot, just get some money. I'd prefer to check a hand like ace 4 of diamonds or something and then bet this ace 10 off more, for example. So yeah, I like betting. Lovely hand, Jack 9 suited. So in a board texture like this at a heavy theoretical level, you could do a lot of overbetting and checking, and our hand would just massively fall into a check category. So really, like, let's just be checking this one back now. So I can see that we're hovering over a large size. You can actually do a lot of things on this board. You can also so a lot of your range can also technically bet smaller as well, small to medium, because you know a hand like King 5 of clubs, for example, doesn't really want to overbet this, but it can definitely generate value from worse and bet half pot, 2/3, whatever, third. But overbetting is also super good with a lot of hands too. This hand, like, try and think about it, like, try and bucket your hands. So you've got a range of hands, and they go into different buckets, different categories. Like, say you've got a set of kings, you've got ace king, you've got aces, you've got jacks, you've got a set of threes, you've got, I don't know, like king 3 suited, things like this, right? Really death hands. Those love to put loads of money in. Get tons of overbets in with those. Get tons of super pot and large sizes. Lots of money versus the villain's top of calling range. Things like that, right? Excuse me. But when you've got like these weaker hands as well, that they can also, like, maybe you've got like some lower gut shots, you've got some weaker hands that don't really like hit the board super hard. They can check back, they can bet, they can also bet big as well, and then you've got lots of medium hands in between as well, and then you'll mix in a few traps here and there. But generally, like a hand like Jack 9 of diamonds, think about this very quickly. Button versus big blind. Big blind's got tons of hands that you're just miles ahead of. You're not theoretically trying to target loads of value with this hand. You just want to kind of control the pot size, allow villain to bluff, allow villain to semi-bluff, allow villain to bet better or worse, and then you control the size of pot in position and play turns into rivers. That's kind of technically what you're looking to do. Betting here, if you're going to bet, like, again, this doesn't really want to bet, but if you bet, you wouldn't nuke this, but you'd bet it maybe small some of the time. So you could say, yeah, I'm betting here to get my fucking frequencies up and all this bullshit. But like right now with Jack 9 suited, just bet small or check back, and mostly check. This size is kind of filtering your opponent to have quite a good hand to continue one way or another, and your hand is not capable of blasting and shelling loads of money in lots of multiple streets. So for example, if you bet big here and check on a lot of turns, villain gets to bluff you. And villain also just gets to value bet himself, and you're in an awkward spot where you're, say for example, he bets big with a good hand, and you have no idea where you're at, if you should call or not. It's not a good spot. So like this kind of really heavy c-bet mentality is in these stakes. You want to have a hand like 4-5 of spades here, or have a hand like 9-10 of clubs, or have a hand like, even if you had a hand like Queen 9 for example, a gut shot, that's a good hand to go big with sometimes. Like, you know, get that fold equity and put pressure on multiple streets. This hand kind of just wants to check and get to the turn. You don't need to worry about any balance or frequency, so you could just kind of exploitatively just always check back and then just have a hand capable of getting to the river, for example. Anyway, whatever. So this size is just far too big. If anything, this is something that you won't think about. Many people don't. This size is just folding out hands we can get value from. So imagine this guy's got like he's got like a low gut shot, for example. He's got like 9-10 of clubs. He doesn't really want to call this massive nuke size, things like this. So he's just got ace deuce of clubs. That will call. You know, that's better than us. So this huge size is not so great for that reason. So just have a bit of a ponder over the sizings. Always try to think about, at the most basic level, what worse hands can call, right? When we're trying to get bet for value. And then when we're trying to bluff, like what kind of hands are we trying to make fold? Okay. So I don't mind opening the queen jack off. I can get behind opening this. You could argue that again in this rake, you may not even open it or want to open it, but this is like one of the worst hands I would open under the gun, which is fine. So in this board texture again, anywhere small, medium. I'll be honest, I don't know multi-way super well, but this is a great combo to go ahead and bet. I suppose you could argue for some check raising as well, or check calling even, but like I would rather just go ahead and bet. Again, I think this is just way too big. Honestly, so think about it again. Think about 9s, 8s, 7s. Just betting the flop is enough to get rid of them directly. They're the hands we're looking to make fold. When you go bigger, you're not making an ace fold. You're not making king 10 fold. You're not making these draws fold. You're not making anything it doesn't matter how big you go to some extent, but like 3/4 and 1/3, if you're attacking a range of hands that just like 8-9 of spades, it's just going to fold no matter what you bet. Pocket fours is going to fold no matter what you bet, which is beating you, right? But it will fold. So you don't have to go massive to try and make that fold. Also remember, the value of your hand doesn't come from directly winning on the flop. You've got a gut shot to the nuts and a backdoor flush draw and queen high. You could easily be winning against both opponents to some extent, just directly as well. You know, they could just have like 7-8 of clubs and things like that. You got 2 overs in the gut shot, backdoor flush draw versus pocket fours. You know, like you don't have to sort of nuke this. So a little bit smaller on the flop, and then think about multiple streets. King 10 suited. So in this rake environment, you can call or just go ahead and 3-bet. Both are probably fine. On this turn with the queen jack. So now I don't like the idea of hovering over small. So this is where we want to be considering getting value from hands now. So here, like let's be honest, we've got two. We bet quite big and got 2 calls, right? So villain's ranges on the turn are going to be hands similar to yours. Some gut shots that make a straight. They're going to have some 2 pairs. It's unlikely they've got kings, 10s, aces, right? It's unlikely they've got ace king. So like a hand like ace 10 may have raised the flop also. You don't know. A set of deuces probably would have raised the flop. So villain's range is kind of perhaps, depending on what types of villains they are, maybe ace 2 suited, but it's probably quite rare. It looks like they're going to have a bunch of like king 10s and like queen 10s and ace jacks and like suited ace x or offsuit ace x. That is still 1 pair or 2 pair, but also a bunch of flushes also. But you block a lot of those. So we've got a straight. We can get value from in these pools. People will just have a 7 off here and just call, like, you know, they'll just call the turn. So just bet a bit bigger for value on this one, because you do bet polarized. You bet bigger or check often strategically. Well, you have some small bets, but you mostly go big. Your hand buckets into a kind of area where, like, I can get called by worse. Villain's got a hand like pocket jacks with a diamond, for example. He's got pocket 9s with a diamond. He's got a hand like king 10, king queen, or let's say like ace jack with a jack of diamonds, jack 10 with a jack of diamonds. King 10, like, you get called by hands. Like, bet a bit bigger here, like sort of 60% or something. Get a bit of value for your hand. If you get raised, I don't even mind hero folding either, to be quite honest, depending on the villains that are maybe even raising you. But this is too small, because this is kind of putting yourself in, like, think about it like this. You should really you're polarized, you got good hands and bad hands, you bet big or you check. This hand goes into a big bet, so you bet big. It's that simple. Don't go for this back, like going back for betting tiny multi-way. This also might put you into a situation where someone could attack you. You know, if someone had, theoretically, if I had pocket 7s with a diamond and seen you bet this size, I'd just raise you on the turn, and then I'd jam the river. That's what I would do, because you just look capped. You don't. If you got the nut flush, you're not betting 20% pot. You're probably going bigger, or you're trapping me. That's the way I'd see it. But yeah, okay, cool. We take it down, which is nice, but bigger on the turn. So what happened here with the king 10 suited? I'm guessing with the SPR, so with the stack size, I'm assuming we flatted pre. So this is one thing that can help you straight away, is I can get behind calling. That's no problem. We don't have to 3-bet all the time in this rake. So calling is okay, no problem. When villain checks the flop, this is the difference here. So I'll be honest. Strategically, this is an exceptional board for in position. We're going to be flatting lots of pocket pairs and connectors some of the time. We're going to 3-bet sometime, but we can also have some calls. But also, we just have a range of hands that can directly hit this board. Even though we haven't hit it with King 10 of Hearts, we're still, to be fair, versus a villain, an aggressor's just flop checking range at NL2, he's just going to have loads of Ace X and King X and Queen X and like just loads of hands that just miss the board completely, in my opinion, or are very weak and marginal, like Ace-6 of spades, something like that. So again, like, I kind of just want to bet this board. You don't even have to nuke it, but if he's got a bunch of hands like Ace highs and better King highs and things like that, Queen Jack of spades, I know that's worse, but it's just hands that are in that range. Just bet here on the flop. This is your range. This is us. Let's just bet. We can bet small, we can bet medium, and we can also barrel turns as well. We don't have to just, give up one and done. Then we just put pressure on those types of hands directly. Exploitatively, you've got King 10 high. I'm not really worried about my frequencies at all. I just look at that check and think it's very weak. I think he's checking a lot of this guy's not going, haha, this is not my range. I'm going to check here and protect all my checks. I've got loads of pairs and sets and hands that I'm going to balance some check raises with Jack 10 of clubs. No, it's not happening. This guy's just going to have loads of ace highs and king highs or like ace 4 suited, blah, blah, blah. Just bet the flop and be really scared of like ace X turns. That's what I think we should do. So just bet this flop and win and then barrel turns and then he'll fold. Or he's got a hand like maybe pocket fives or something that may call flop and turn. But fine, well done for him. But like, I don't like checking back this checking this back, especially in this pool. Very bad turn card, easy fold. The queen is the secondary scare card. King queen, ace queen, queen jack, queen 10, whatever. Also, it's diamonds. We unblock diamonds. You can have ace X of diamonds, whatever. Easy fold on the turn. But again, we probably could have just stabbed the flop. A7, you can open a very small amount of the time, I guess, but it's also such a high rake, it doesn't really make too much difference. Definitely opening up the King Jack suited. Again, with the fast folding, just keep an eye on it. I think it doesn't fold your hand. I think it puts you into a state of like auto check and then auto fold versus bet. But like, again, the small blind may limp to you and then you may have flopped something good and called them in a weird way. Or also they may just check to you on the flop and you get to bet and win, whereas they may see that you've auto-checked, bet themselves and win. These add up, like they do add up. If this happens 3, 4, 5 times a session, that's potentially 5 big blinds default, but also potentially more if you would actually like hit the board. So maybe just keep an eye on that. Don't fold pocket eights, it's a good hand. Right, so with this rake, if you were deeper, there are some hijack calls like 300 plus, 250 plus. You're 100 bigs, super high rake. This is going to be a really, really, this is going to be one of these hands that you're going to free bet some of the time and fold a bunch of the time also versus UTG. I don't mind folding this like, I don't know, 70% of the time. I've got no idea. Quite a large amount of the time though, you'd just fold, especially in this rake, you'd probably just fold. Some of the time I 3-bet it, most of the time I fold. Just don't call. Ah, we're hovering over call. No. So like I wouldn't call. Like the rake is too high. He's opening 3x. That would just be sort of like 3-betting it or folding. Versing this huge size, we got no. If we're going to continue, I'd continue with 8s with a heart, and I'd probably still be mainly folding anyway. Versus this board. Don't like this call. Please don't call. Fold that. King Jack offsuit. So the offsuit Broadway's defenders calls almost always, unless they're nutted. So flatting pre is good. Calling the flop is easy. Turn, I just want to say one thing. Against very, very, very tight players, I might consider just folding, even to the small size. This guy looks pretty aggressive. This is an easy call. We beat 7-8, we beat 10-8, we beat Jack 10, Queen Jack, any spade combo. If this guy's just blasting any turn on top of it, if this guy's merging hands, whatever, like easy turn call, and then I'd just be folding rivers. That's the way I'd be looking at it. Unless this guy bets like 2, then I'd probably have to call. But yeah, and now we just check back and hope to win versus King 10 or something. Queens, there you go, merging. Guys got like queens can bet, but like they're betting ultra small. But I don't think he's doing it for that reason. I think he's just betting and seeing what happens. But you know, again, there's some weird and wonderful things. So that was pretty decently played with the King Jack. 10-9. I probably would have waited and then opened. I think you can get away with that one in the small blind.
Queen 9 suited, we can definitely go ahead and open. This is one of our like closer opens, but it's definitely an open. It depends. It's more a case of like, again, to beat this stake, you don't have to have these like wider opens. They're very marginal. They're very neutral. But like, to be honest, you know, you can have them. My problem is this. So if you're going to open Queen 9 suited, like, so think about it like this: against the small blind, right? We do loads of really large and overbetting in checks versus a small blind call, but forget that. Okay. This is just like, again, let's just think about it purely exploitatively. Okay. We've just got Queen 9 of clubs. The population is going to fold a lot or call if they've got something that's worth calling. If you check, they're going to bet and we're going to have to fold. It's just that simple. So it's a case of if you are going to open more aggressively, this is not like, say for example, you had ace, king, ace, queen. You can even just bet for value with those actually. But like for sake of argument, right, that's really good showdown value. A pair of fives, good showdown value, whatever. Queen 9 is not showdown value. So we just can't really do anything against a merge, against a value bet, against a bluff, whatever. We can't do anything. So I would just go ahead and bet this, and I'd bet pretty big to overbet. I'd actually consider overbetting. You're not going to know that, but like just bet this in any capacity, even if it's like half pot for the sake of argument. Just don't look at. So I know what you're doing, and you're going at this board, and you're going right. I haven't hit this board. I don't really connect to it. I'm just going to check back. It's probably not good for me. I understand this, but like you've got Queen 9 of clubs. Like this is not good. This is not good showdown value hand. We need to like look at the 5 in the middle. That's 5 big blinds we can go after, right? Like we can pick up clubs. We can represent a couple of big cards. Like we should be going for a very large size technically. Start attacking these like ace 10 of spades on the flop. Things like this, like come after hands directly and put pressure on them rather than checking and exploitatively. Like it's just easy to go after them. Against so this is no good also. So when we check back. This 10 could also be in our range. We could have 10x in the hijack. We could open king 10, queen 10, jack 10, 10, 9, 6, whatever. Go ahead and like you don't have to bet big now, but now you can just represent a 10. Bet like 30%, 40%, 50%, whatever you want. Just bet the turn. So now we can put pressure on like, again, like ace 7 of clubs. Make it fold. Checking down, you've got no showdown value here. So now if you were to bet this, now you're saying you've got an extremely good hand as a trap. So we're now going for a huge size and saying we've got massive overbets or trap. Like we've got big 10x, we've got 10x that trapped, we've got overpairs, things like that, or bluffs. But you wouldn't really get here with that many bluffs. I suppose a couple, but this is not the one I'd be looking for. Also, you're just going to get so much less credit. So we're just going to lose to like ace high or king high or something. Yeah. So this is just experience. It will come with time. But like this is where you just bet the flop for a very large size and you just win. Job done. Next hand. So like if you're going to open these, be more aggressive. Go for it a bit more. Don't be scared of it. What on earth's happened with these 10s? So we have a very, very good hand here. So we open 10s, we get 3-bet. Just as a thing, again, 10s is a really, really good hand to 4-bet and shove. In these populations, it's probably better just as a call, or unless you're against an extremely aggressive or capable opponent. But this is NL2. We just think that their 3-bets are very strong, or exploitatively, just very, very weak. They're just going to be weird, weak hands that are going to insta-fold. And we get no value from, or they're going to continue with a lot of better and almost never worse. So, you know, against that kind of range, I'd probably just call and play post-flop. And obviously when we flop 10s full, that's always really, really good. Hopefully this guy puts loads of money in, that'd be great. He doesn't, he checks back. So let's just quickly think about it. This guy, like, before you just go ahead and bet, just have a quick pause and think about things. So this guy's check back range, let's be honest, right? And people don't, unless they've, for some reason they find it, like, they're probably not checking back aces, kings, queens. I'm not saying they can't, but it's probably less likely, especially on this board texture, unless they're super scared. But, like, what they are going to have is hands like ace king. They're going to have hands like ace queen. They're going to have hands like pocket nines. They're going to have a hand like ace 10, king 10. But remember, you block them very heavily because you've got 3 of the 10s dead here. Spade, heart, and diamond X combos of the 10 are dead. So this guy's likely to have ace king and ace queen and king queen and stuff. What do they like? What do they like about that turn card? A lot. Just for sake of argument, maybe as a flush draw sometimes also. But I would check this turn. This is a good card for villain. You don't want to bet here with a lot of 10x. You can also trap here with some jack X, bet here with some jack X, bet and check raise, whatever. You can do a bunch of things here. But generally, this queen is extremely good for in position. But I would just check this. Like, I don't like this one big blind. I want to check and allow him to semi-bluff. I want to check and allow him to bet. And then I'd potentially raise or call depending on the size. Really, I kind of like check raise into jam. That's kind of what I'd be looking to do against like ace king, ace queen, and flushes, and sometimes a jack also that may be slow playing against you also, like king jack, ace jack, for example. Here, like betting tiny, it just accumulates the absolute minimum. Even if he's got a hand like ace queen, he's probably not raising you on the turn because there's a flush and a paired board. So, you know, like now it's very difficult to get loads and loads and loads of money in. So now we're just in a very weird equilibrium. I'd be betting like 2/3 here and just trying to get called by like ace queen, king queen as played. But really, I think we've butchered this a little bit. So I probably would have checked the turn into check raise and then make nice big chunky bet on the river. That's what I'd probably be looking to do. So king 10 offsuit is just way too loose to even think about continuing, so we should just be folding this. I wouldn't even be worrying about it. Yeah, that guy's playing 1-1-2 over 156. That's pretty sick. Again, auto fast fold on the big blind. Just wait and see what happens before we do that. We've gone over it already twice, but that's 3 situations, so they add up. King, queen, and ace 5 suited. Are we going to open these ones? Again, they are very kind of neutral in this rake in the way the population plays, but like, we don't really want it. Like, it's really good practice to make sure that we are opening a bunch of hands. They're not exactly considered loose opens, but they're just, you know, not nutted in a pool where we are getting sort of like raked at a ridiculous level. But king, queen off, you actually can think about having some 4-bet bluffs. I would like. Some of the time, I wouldn't do it. Not in this pool. Like this kind of environment. I think the 3 bets are just pretty value heavy. So again, like king 10 off, this is like the microest open. Like we'd open this almost never some of the time. In this rake, we probably don't even open it at all. So king 10, I would pitch in that one. So what's happening with the 7 deuce? Yeah. So again, this is not a defend. This is just way too loose. Nothing to say, just way too loose of a defend. So let's not defend 7 deuce suited. So here we've defended for an extra big blind with 7 deuce suited, and then we've opened king 10 off. So this is 3 big blinds entered into the pot. Add the extra 2.5 that we've added in with the 5s pre. That's like 5.5 big blinds. That's a lot of money to just kind of put in unnecessarily. I think we opened 1 or 2 extra hands that didn't have to be opens. Also 7, 8 big blinds. It really adds up in terms of all of these amounts. So just avoid these very, very loose opens in defense. As played versus a villain who opens and checks on king, jack, deuce, this is going to be theoretically overbet and check. In this pool, again, it's a weird one because it's like, I'm just going to put this back to the flop. I actually think that I'm in a weird one with this exploit. Like strategically, like checking's completely fine, and overbetting some of the time is fine because if you overbet, you'll just fold out 8s. There you go, job done, nice and happy. You can also walk into a bunch of traps and walk into a bunch of hands that will call and re-raise you, so it puts you in a difficult situation. But yeah, fuck strategy. Let's think about exploit NL2. Okay, let's come down to reality. We've got a really shit 2. There's not going to be a lot of turns of rivers we're going to want to see. There's going to be a lot of turns of rivers we're going to get bluffed. There's going to be a lot of turns of rivers that's going to improve villain's value range. This guy, if he had something he was kind of bluffing or semi-bluffing with, he would bet the flop. But because he's checking, he's got some kind of showdown value. And because this is NL2, it's just uncapped. It's capped weak showdown. It's just like Jack 10 off. I'm not saying he's playing badly. He's probably, that's correct. But I'm just saying it's always going to be capped. So like against 3s, 4s, a better deuce, like ace deuce, king deuce, queen deuce, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, jack 10, jack 9, jack 8, jack 7 suited, like queens, whatever. These hands look at this board and go, excellent, let's check and get to the turn. Well, why don't we just go say, I don't know, 9, 8, boom, there you go, see you later. I would rather just do that than check back, and because these guys are just going to, even if he checks down, you're probably going to lose to 7s. If he's got ace 10, if he's got like a pair of 8s, and so you're just going to lose or get outdrawn very often, and it's, or you can get bluffed and say bluff. Just, I would literally, I know you're not going to think about overbetting, but like in the future, we don't have all these nutted, we don't have ace king, we don't have king queen suited, king jack suited, a whole bunch, we don't have jacks. If we want to value bet, deuces like king X, things like this, and marginal draws, we would overbet them because we're so polar with what we're representing. So it would be overbet and check. But this, I actually would love an overbet. I'd love an overbet. I think checking back's not enough. So again, this, we don't know. Like this guy can now value bet queens, jack X, things like that directly. He can now semi-bluff if he wants to and didn't on the flop. And then obviously he's got really good hands also. But like now this puts us in a situation where if we want to call, we can, but just putting us into a really awkward spot. And I guarantee you this guy's got a hand like Jack 10 now, or like Queen Jack, or Queens or something, or like just King 3 suited or whatever. And it's just now very difficult to play against. So now if we just have to fold pretty much, and it's like we probably just could have won this on the flop every single time, in my opinion. So yeah, finding the overbet this next time. But again, you're not going to think about that. But like, this is some of these things is like, because when you think about it, these guys are so capped every time that you can literally just go to say, literally, I can just go for it. Overbetting and checking is actually the right thing to do. But like exploitatively, you can just overdo it. You can literally just bet big. You don't even have to overbet. You bet pot, bet 3/4, overbet. They're all good. Opening the aces, it's a good hand. 3-4 suited, woo. So in terms of 3-betting this 4-3 suited, excuse me, just very quickly, like 100 big blinds, you're kind of small blind 3-bet range attacking the button. So you'll basically think about the small blind like an iron fist, no pun intended. You're basically loads of suited ace-x. You're like king queen off your I suppose to some extent some king jack offs and stuff like this, and then you've got like suited broadways. You've got like a lot of really strong suited 9x, like to some extent 8-9, but it's more a case of like 10-9 suited, jack 9 suited, queen 9 suited, king 9 suited, loads of suited ace-x, loads of suited unsuited broadways. And then pairs, I guess, mainly kind of like 8s plus or 7s plus, but then also like a smidge of small ones. In terms of connectors, you don't really want to 3-bet low to medium connectors, really at all. And not until you're deeper. When you go like 2 to 300, that's where you can start incorporating some of these connectors because they play better deeper. But like at a position, your small blind aggression and power comes from being a smaller, stronger, condensed range. Right, the big blind, it's got loads of hands and it's very polarized because it doesn't have people behind it. You've still got someone behind you, so you can't make loose calls, you can't make loose 3-bets. And if you're going to 3-bet, you need to block a lot of the best hands that villain can continue or re-raise against you with. So 4-3 suited is just a very bad candidate. Just to be nitpicky, the 3-bet size is also far too small. So like, again, anywhere from around sort of like, technically speaking, up to like 12, really fucking big. It's more a strategic thing, but like really big. Because again, we're saying we've got good hands, we want the fold equity, and we want the value. You decide which one we want. But a hand of 4-3 suited, if you're 3-betting 4-3 suited, your range is just like this big. They're not going to know that, but just for sake of argument, good practice, this is not a good hand in any capacity to be 3-betting with. If you were going to 3-bet it, you'd be 3-betting to like 10, 11, 12 would be nice. But yeah, fold this. Don't get involved with this. This is going to put you into a lot of trouble, and it's very bad practice later down the road. So I'd just be basically folding this. Let's see what Mr. Ryan YC wants to do. Meanwhile, we've got aces, and we've been called. So again, generally, it's a lot of sort of like small to medium betting, but you can also go for there are some because you've got aces here, you can go for some larger sizings also. Villain's going to have king queen off, king jack off, and things like this. We are obviously crushing those. So like this can be added to a larger polar range. Also, blah blah fucking blah. I like putting loads of money in. Loads of money's nice. Just a thing, when you get check raised, the first thing you should do is identify who's check raising you before you do anything else. There's no strategy at this level. It's literally who's check raising or 3-betting me or 4-betting me. You're being check raised to a smallish size. To be fair, people don't really go for large check raise sizes anyway. But like, this guy's got a 37 VPIP. Are there hands worse than this that he can check raise with? Yeah, I think he can have 7-9, 10-7 of spades, ace-x of spades. I think he can have those hands. Like, I think he can have a couple of them. Can he also have value? Yes, he can have 8s, he can have 6s, he can have king 8, he can have king 6, he can have 8 and 8-6. Yeah, so like all the 2 pairs and sets, and then he's going to have some combo draws. Also, sometimes you don't know. Like sometimes people do some random stuff, and also they could just have like a king. You know, king jack, king 10, king queen, whatever. It's an easy call. But what I'm saying is, if you were to identify this player as a regular who's got like a 14, 11, 2 as stats, and you know that they're quite tight and very unlikely to like raise you with many hands at all, even many flush draws, then I actually don't mind folding and only continuing when you've got aces with a spade, just because it's blocking and also gives you a chance at redrawing against any of his top of range. But anyway, that's a lot of jargon, but like I don't mind folding this against a lot of population. I think against a 37 VPIP, I'm just calling and then playing the turns and probably calling turn and maybe side calling river depending on what's going on. But don't expect to be good here a lot of the time, because often you won't be against a lot of opponent types. So that's why, like, you've profiled him here, you've had a look, he looks a bit whaley. This is an easy call, and we move to the turn. Nothing much else to say. But again, against the tight ones, you have to be very careful. So this brings in 5-7, which sucks. It also brings in flushes. Now, what I want to say is, because this guy's snap checked, where does aces bucket into a range? Now, if you think this is a good hand, you're going to be wrong, because one pair is one pair. I don't know what you're going to do on the turn here, but I'm just saying, before I can see, and I don't want to be biased, your hand is not super strong, and it doesn't get value from a lot of worse hands, and we can just be check raised again. So, like, now we just want to check back. If he's got a set or two pair, he's not folding, and I don't want to try and make him fold. Can he have a bunch of flushes? Yes. Can he have a straight? Yes, technically. I'm just looking to check back and try and get to the river, and probably not put an extra penny in the pot, to be quite honest. So I'd like to be checking back here. Check. Check. No, so, like, I can see that we're hovering over betting. No. So, like, again, I can tell you one of your leaks immediately is you're literally identifying a hand which you think is ahead but not sure, so you're going for a small size to try and, you know, it's something that it's kind of like a comfort bet, like, oh, okay, just in case he's got a king, I get, you know, I'll bet this and then he'll call and then maybe I'll check back, whatever. You just, when you've got a good hand, you're just not going to do this, are you? It's so try and plug this immediately. Just check back. You've got a hand that doesn't get value from a lot of worse and can just get re-raised. You can just be dead. You can be against flushes. The guy still has 8-6. The guy still got king 6, king 8, 5-7, spades, sets. So, like, none of that you beat. So betting doesn't accomplish anything. This is a bluff, essentially. Even if you had aces with a spade, that would also check back, and because it's trying to realise and doesn't want to get fucking binned. Imagine he's sitting there with a flush draw on the flop, check raised you, made his flush on the turn, checks the turn, goes for a check raise or a check call, and then you start betting. You know, like, you're trying to, the whole point of having the redraw is to try and outdraw them, his like sets and two pairs and other flushes. Okay, that's the whole kind of equilibrium. With your hand with no spade, just check. This is outrageous to try and get value here. You've been rewarded with a set of aces. So I want to pause this before anything else happens. I apologize if people just want to watch a video and not listen to some Papega talk for fucking ages, but here we go. You're still losing to all flushes and straights, but you're now beating all the two pairs and sets. But can I say one thing? If the guy's got king 6 and king 8, when you bet the turn, you called a check raise, the flush comes in, you've bet, and then we get to the river. I don't even think, like, any considerable size, you don't really get value from any of those. Maybe a set, but maybe not. But here we go. But you can still just have all the flushes. So it's like, you know, like, I honestly, like, I'll be honest with you, I kind of feel like this is like, we beat sets now. So you do, I don't mind betting, but, like, let's be honest, we're trying to target six, like, let's give him top of range that we beat. 6s, 8s, king 8. That's top of range for him. If you nuke this, you're not going to get called, right? Not really. Maybe not. But he can also still just have straights and flushes. So honestly, this is where I would put my exploit hat on and just say I'd probably just bet a third and just try, like, 20%, 30%, and just try and get called by those sets. Because you can have those and make a cycle, but, like, and then fold to jam, because I don't think he's ever going to find a bluff in this line. I really don't, to be honest with you. Or we could just be beat anyway. You could just be sitting there with, like, ace 5 of spades and just be like, haha. So this shove is outrageous, in my opinion. I think it's outrageous. I think there's nothing that calls for this size. If this guy tanks and calls with a set of 8s, well done, but that is not what we're looking to do, because he can just have all the flushes. And you can still have a straight also, but it's just no good. I would have checked back the turn and then facing river check, probably blocked or gone like 40%. Versus this, now that we bet the turn, it's way too loose. Way too loose for the size. Very difficult to get called by worse. And if he just has a flush, he plays perfect and just calls. So you're putting yourself at risk. A lot of risk. So be very, very careful with this. Ace Queen, you can do some 3-betting, again, because of the rake. Calling is probably just far superior, in my opinion. He's also got 30 VPIP, so I don't mind 3-betting for value or just calling. It doesn't really make any difference. I think against that VPIP, I'd probably 3-bet for value more, but whatever. 2 overs in that flush draw. You can actually lead here a small amount if you want to, but that's for another day. Checking's also good. We can check call, we can check raise. Can I say something quickly? Against the big blind lead and a larger lead, this is a warning sign. This is a woo. This is an alarm. I'm not saying I'm folding, but I'm just saying this is scary. If UTG bets, yeah, they can have over pairs and flushes also, but the big blind's got tons of like 2 pairs and flushes and sets and things here. So when he wants to lead at NL2, he's probably got something better than a 10, in my opinion. I think he's leading like an exceptional hand. So be very careful. Imagine if he's leading flushes and sets and 2 pairs plus and very occasionally just like ace 10. You're behind to all of that. So it's again the same premise. I'm not trying to look to like fold out any of this. If he checked and then it checked round, and I can bet the turn, or if you bet smaller, like no problem. But this is quite scary in my opinion. So just be a bit careful. I might even just call this. Let him have like king queen off with a heart. I dominate it, no problem. Like check raising is also an option. I think I prefer just calling at these stakes. I generally do. I think this is going to be a pretty good hand, and I don't really want to check raise against it, especially out of position. Ace 10 off, we'd be calling. I suppose there's also some 3 betting, but mainly incentivized to just defend. I don't mind the check raise some of the time, but just bigger. It should just be bigger than that. I'd go like sort of 15, 16. But anyway, yeah, fine. We check raise, we took it down. Great. I do think, though, like, this is very vulnerable, again, where you're kind of doing it into a spot where, yes, it's worked this time, but I feel like it's a bit very, very scary against a lot of range. Like, he's going to have a bunch of flushes and things like that in the big blind, so just be a bit careful. It's not awful, it's not a mistake, but it's just, I kind of prefer just calling. Versus large size, table 2, huge size, just fold. Whoa. So, like, there are, don't get me wrong, check raising is really good and a great part of the game, and we want to have it and incorporate it. You do have some blockers here, so you do block ace jack of hearts, or just a single raise, you just block all ace jacks. You block all jack 10s. The only thing is, like, if I was going to check raise, I might just check raise a little bit bigger. Plus, this is a hand that's kind of too strong / too weak. Like, it's kind of like it's not weak enough and not strong enough to kind of find a check raise with, in my opinion. This is going to sound really nitpicky, but if I was going to raise this, I'd rather have like queen 10 of clubs, which is a weaker hand with a backdoor flush draw and an over. It's also unblocking a few more, like, it's blocking also, I mean, I'm trying to talk out my arse here. Ace 10 and queen jack, ace 10 and queen 10 both block over pairs and like some jack 10s and then like jack X also. But like if he's like these guys, the thing that mainly scares me above all of that anyway is just the fact that again he's picked this huge size. Like when they bet bigger, you're less incentivized to attack them more aggressively. So for example, like if I had a deuce here, yeah, I want to check raise against any size a lot of the time. If I've got jacks 4, I've got like I guess pocket queens at low frequency and things like this, like you can do some aggressive action, have a couple of bluffs and semi bluffs. But when you get called, there's no turn card like that's really that great for you to continue. Whereas like queen 10 is just a weaker hand, means I've got I've got no real showdown value. It's a weaker hand. I can attack again. Say he bets like 2, and I check raise queen 10 of clubs. I love this. Versing this like 80%, 85% pot size, I don't like attacking this type of hand with no backdoor flush draw. I would just fold it. If anything, you kind of want him just to have a hand like this. That's just betting and will fold. So you kind of block those. So like, this is against this size, this hand is just, it's not weak enough and not strong enough. You've got no backdoors. This guy's too how do I speak English? This sizing is too big for me to want to go after it. So I'd just be folding this. Also nitpicky check raising, probably check raise slightly bigger, but it's not the end of the world. Obviously easy fold versus the bet 3 bet. I don't like villains bet 3 bet at all. I would just be calling. If I had aces, kings, queens, jacks, even a deuce, just call. Let you bluff if you're bluffing. If you're value betting, we'll get the lot anyway. So I don't like his bet 3 bet, but let him do what he does. But yeah, I probably wouldn't have chosen that combo. Not versus the hijack as much for that size, against that size. If he bets really small, maybe you can do it some of the time. But easy open with the ace king. I like that we're hovering over 3 here instead of 2.5 because you identified you're a little bit deeper against the big blind and the small blind, which is nice. So we can start building the SPR a bit more. So we've got a pure continue versus the 3 bet and the small blind. We're either going to, I mean, we'd see what the big blind does first, but we want to be always re-raising. So we're either 4 betting or jamming, like 100, 130 effective. I mean, I don't know if the GG rake means that you prefer just 4 betting over jamming. I'm not actually sure. So like, feel free to go ahead and backseat me on that one. But I think I would just prefer to make this like 26 rather than jamming. Yeah, I mean, you could size up, I suppose, if you wanted to, but I feel like that's a bit big. But I mean, yeah, you could do. I don't like calling though. So if you had ace queen and wanted to call this sometimes, like, okay, fine, but ace king is just too good and too valuable. You're also vulnerable, like, for example, if villain, just say for sake of argument, if villain's 3-betting a hand like king queen off, ace 10 off, you're putting yourself in a situation where, like, you're not going to make a lot of money anyway from him, but you're allowing yourself to be bluffed. So this, and also you're not stacking off. I suppose you don't get called by theoretically worse, but it's like you can put a lot of spots in a lot of hands that can, you're allowing a lot of his range to put pressure on you. So say for example he 3-bets you with like king jack off or king queen off with a diamond, or like ace 7 of spades. Okay, kind of ace 7 of spades, whatever, like any hand that's worse than yours. He just gets to attack flops that you don't hit, and you're not generating enough value. You want him to have ace queen suited, you can 4-bet against it, build the pot, things like this. Also, so now what? You know what I mean? Now it puts you in a difficult situation. For example, villain's sizing is actually outrageous. It's awful. It should be bigger than this or checking. But again, it's NL2, so let's not really backseat people for that. Against this price, you're going nowhere. You beat everything that's unpaired. You have the nut, no pair. Like against third, this is a that you could even consider raising for value. Probably this is just a call. Like I would not folding this. I would be calling and playing turns. It puts you into a lot of awkward situations, but you're just going to be ahead so much of the time. He can it's annoying you have the ace of spades because it blocks like ace 10 of spades, ace jack of spades, but you're just ahead. If he's 3-bet, can he 3-bet you with ace jack of hearts? Yes, you can. So you're ahead of that. Can he 3-bet you with ace 7 of clubs? Yes, he can. You're ahead of that. Are you ahead of king queen suited, ace jack suited, ace queen off? Like, yes, you're losing to 10s plus and 9s plus and whatever, but you still got overs against a bunch of those, and also that's a very small part of his overall range. If he just gets to bet a third and you're folding ace king, what should have happened here is you 4-bet here and then we play post from there, rather than this is way too passive. You're losing value and you're also getting bluffed over the top of it. So we need to kind of fight back a bit. 4-bet for value, play onwards. As played, pure call on the flop and then play turns. You don't have to call down all the time, but at least see the flop. At least see the turn. What's happening with the 5-7 of diamonds? So is this a limp pot or is this an open? This is just again, this is similar to the pocket 5. This is, I'm just going to say it bluntly, this is a really awful call. Like this just super high rake environment. You've got 7-5, like no good. If you're in the big blind, easy defend, no problem. But like here with the big blind behind, out with the rake, no, just fold this. Fold it and get out of the way. So again, this is another voluntary pot that we're just putting another 1.5 big blinds, in my opinion, dusted, but we just don't need to be here. Checking the small blind, yeah, obviously, mainly just kind of check calling, I suppose. Don't really want to check raise, get this in. Don't really want to check raise, build a pot with 7 high. Yeah, I guess call. Try and realize turns. Wouldn't be leading this. Just be checking. It's just, did you see how awful this whole situation is? It's just like, we're just out of position and we're calling with a really weak hand. And it's like, we flopped a flush draw and we're not even happy about it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, So against half, we're in a really weird spot because we've got a gut shot. So we can now make an 8. But we're still just losing to queen 10 directly. We're still, an 8 would also put 10-7, right? So we're losing to both of those straights already, either already or we will when it hits. If villain has 5-7 of other combos, for the sake of argument, we chop. So, we can just be dominated with our flush draw. An 8 doesn't even make us the nuts. To be honest with you, I kind of just like going away from this. I just hate this whole situation. I would just avoid this. Now, like, I don't like re-raising this. This is not strong enough to re-raise. It's not really... Heads up is kind of like borderline. I just... Multi-way, like, the big blind can just have 9s, jack 9, king 9, queen 10. I'd probably just be folding this. No, I don't like raising. Calling just feels really, really marginal in the first place. Like, do you see how awful this whole situation has escalated? Like, we could have just avoided this. This has now become 8. We've now put in 1.5 plus 8.5. This is now, 10, 11 big blinds that just didn't need to be there in the first place. Oh, we get shoved on as well. Yeah, like the big blinds range improves dramatically with this turn card as well. So now it's just a clear fold. Very easy fold. We're either dead or dominated in any way. This guy could even just be like, imagine this guy did just jam 9x of diamonds or like 10x of diamonds, queen x of diamonds. We're dominating in every capacity. We're not even drawing to the nut straight. Like, you know, like easy fold here. Very, very easy fold. No, please don't call. No, this guy looks like he's got king 9 or queen 10 plus. Like, probably got king 9, 9s, queen 10. That's probably what he's got. Or 9x of diamonds, in my opinion. Or slow played 6s or something. I don't know, but just cannot call. But again, you see, like, this whole situation, we just avoid it, right? And then move on. Queen jack offsuit, yeah, we'll be opening this one, the cutoff. 5-7 suit, easy fold. Yeah, we're not 4-betting this, just pitch it. You could argue for some 4-betting with like king queens and ace 10 offs and stuff, but like, again, NL2 wouldn't even be considering it. Queen jack off, just way too loose. Just easy fold. Easy open, but then fold to 3-bet. I'm conscious of time, so I'm just maybe going to look for see if we can find any spots just quickly. King 7 suit, we can open this like give or take half the time strategically, but they're still basically neutral opens. If you want to avoid them and just open like king 10 suited plus, king 9 suited plus, you can also just do that. But opening is okay. It's just a bit more, it's just neutral. Doesn't make a bunch of money, but it's good to start practicing a good strategy. So we check the jack 4 diamonds. So this one I wouldn't be folding this versus one big blind. I'd be continuing pure. I'd either be calling, or because we've got so many back doors, we could even sometimes be good with jack high. You got backdoor straight, backdoor flush. You could check raise also. You could lead also. Betting, check raising, check calling, all viable. Check folding, no good. So we open the king 9 suited. So I'm clicking through to just speed this up because I'm conscious of time. We open the king 9 suited, ace 10. Just be betting this at a very high frequency. King 9 of clubs, again, it buckets better. It benefits a lot from just betting and folding out. Like, it doesn't fold out loads of hands, but it's a kind of hand where you could just do a lot of. It's a good setup for a lot of multiple street lines. You've just got all the best ace X. He doesn't, you know, to some extent. So it's just, we can bet this very, very often and barrel tons of cards, and he just can't continue, and it's very difficult. Put pressure on 8s, 7s, 9s, 6s, even some marginal 10x. Very difficult for him to be able to play very well. So I'd just be go ahead and betting this one. Not a fan of checking this combo in particular. Now we pick up the straight and the flush draw. I would now be going back and betting this. There is some argument for also checking to check call, because villain can now have straights and boats. And Queen X also that check back, but I'd just be betting this turn. Yeah, I like it. Maybe a bit bigger than this, but it's okay. Again, you're trying to fold out 7s and 6s, so you don't need to go massive. Yep, fine. Ace King, King Jack suited. Let's 3-bet the King Jack suited. Anywhere around sort of 3.5x, so like 8 or something would be good. Yeah, that's good. We like it. Yeah. So what I would say is, I know you're super high rake. I don't know if GG has more calls, but generally, like, King Jack suited should really be in a 3-bet range. It's just a very strong, good hand that you want to kind of build a pot with, can get called by worse, and also it's just kind of one of the hands you want to have in your range. That's pretty good. Exploitative against a nit, you want to call, fine. Or this guy's 29 VPIP, maybe you want to trap him or whatever, but like, I'd probably just be 3-betting this one and calling with King Jack off. That's probably the way I would see it. So we get 3-bet squeeze with the ace king. So against this kind of like situation, again, I'll be honest, I don't know with the GG rake if you prefer jamming, because jamming makes a lot of pairs indifferent, like 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks, whatever. You also just make sure that you don't get binned on later streets. I kind of prefer just directly 4-betting over shoving. 1 with this rake, but 2, just I kind of want ace queen to 3-bet me and call rather than shove and make it fold in this pool. Like, I just feel like people make so many mistakes post flop where I'm just going to make a lot of money. So I kind of prefer just making this like 26, 27. I suppose there is also argument for like just jamming, but like 100 effective against both. But I'd just be probably 4-betting this to quite a large size. There's probably an argument for making a smidge a call, but I just prefer to just go ahead and 4-bet. I'd make it bigger than this. I'd be making this like 27. But it's okay. It doesn't make a difference. Only because there's a cold call behind us, but you know. But nice, we re-raised and took it down. We'll take it. King Jack suited, yeah, we can check back. We can bet. It doesn't make too much difference. We can have a bunch of value on this flop. We have 9s. We have 10-9 deuces. I suppose to some extent 10 deuce suited. We'll also have some open enders, some gut shots. I prefer checking back this combo though. because villains check the flop and insta check the ace, this just looks like pocket sevens to me. Honestly, I would blast this ace now. I would go ahead and bet this. I just bet it for a large size. Honestly, doing a lot of binage. Also quite polar. You can check down king jack high. I just think you're going to lose. I honestly think this guy's got like 8, 7, 6s or like 9, 8 or something, and you're going to lose. No, you just have to fold. Please don't call. There's an argument for turning your hand into a bluff because you also block queen jack, which is pretty funky. So I actually like going like 15 here or folding. That's what I would do. 15 or fold. Fucking massive. Stick it in his fucking eye or fold. He's got something. You can't call. So for this guy to like check the flops, insta check the turn, and then bet a dicky size, it's something very marginal. It's not 2-pair. It's like a very weak ace or some kind of like weird hand. Like I don't know. It could also just be a hand like sevens or something mergy or like maybe king 8, king 9. This kind of this feels like a strong 9. This is what this feels like, a strong 9 or a very weak ace. So I don't mind binning this. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. Mwah, perfect. That's what I want to see. Really good. He bins. Ugh, that guy disconnects. That's irritating. Yeah, we can 3-bet ace 2 suit here. I like this. See what happens. Get the 4-bet, unfortunately. Easy pitch. I can get behind 3-betting the ace-jack. I'd probably go a little bit smaller just because he's a little bit shorter. But, like, it's fine. So, obviously, we've flopped a good hand. So, against this 71 VPIP guy, I love this, like, this tremendous size. Again, like, like, strategically looking at it, it's a kind of a board where we're going to hit it or not hit it that much. So, like, we can size up a bit, like, sort of 40 to 70%, that kind of, like, middling ground. Because it's a whale, like, it is quite dry, but I just want him to have something. Like, he's not folding any pocket pair. He's not folding any worse jack. He's probably not folding ace king, ace queen, anything either. So, like, this kind of guy, I love just betting big and trying to get value from him. You know, if he's got his beat, well done. But I just think, you know, now we get the call. We love it even more. 5s, 7s. Like, now pick up gut shots. Okay, if he's got 8s, nice hand. But everything else, like 9s and 10s, probably don't fold. A jack just never folds, obviously. You know, like, let's just keep going. I would bet, like, around half pot here and then jam the river. That's what I'd probably do. This I don't like. This is where I detest this. This just forces him, like, if he's got a jack and wants to stack off, okay. But, like, this is what we would do by the river. But now he's got, like, 5s and 7s and you jammed 150% pot. Like, this is where you scare him and it's like, I want him all his money. You know, if he's got a hand like ace 10 of, like, spades and stuff that floated, like whatever, it's just this is too big. I would have gone for a multi-street line. Like if he stacks off with a jack here or 7-4 like that's fine, but I would have got this money by the river is kind of what I'm saying. Well done, you got the money, but like you're gonna allow him to get away with a lot of hands, I think, by jamming that size. And you'd prefer just to bet turn and jam river. So but yeah, nice when you stacked him, but I don't like the way we did it. King Jack offsuit in this rake, I think this is a bit loose. If you were going to do it exploitatively, again, size up. So I got like 11 here, for example, 11.5, something like that, bigger. Really, really, really big. Because you're giving him a really good price to call in position. Like, that's the problem. You're out of position. You're a small blind. You're strong condensed range. Like, we've got good hands. We don't want to be going small. Fold equity and value. But King Jack offsuit also is a very, very borderline. Very, very, very aggressive. Pocket 5s almost never opening in this rake. I suppose 6s plus, but even then it's probably pretty neutral. First thing 3-bet cold call. You've just got an easy call now. Unfortunately, I hate these little pocket pairs, but we've got a relatively good price now to try and set mine. It's just going to be very difficult just to win loads and loads of money, unfortunately. Even if we flop a set, we still got to have the poor bastard have something, and then the board's got to not run out in a horrible way. And now we just fold, yeah. Speed through this. I want to have this done by 1 hour 10, so I'm just going to skim through. Again, 8-9 suited, way too aggressive. Let's eliminate this. Let's have like Jack 10 suited and stuff like that, or sometimes call, but like this is way too aggressive. Also, it's weird because you size up here. Like before we had king jack off and we made it like 8.5, and now we've got 9-8 suited making it 10. I don't know what that's about, but same sizings but larger. But this is just too aggressive versus here. Even versus the button, it's somewhat questionable. Maybe some of the time, but like I would just be folding this. Queen 10 open, bet the flop, okie dokie. Queen jack, yeah, okay. Multi-way, I don't mind betting the flop or checking. It's one of these board textures where it's like you'd kind of size up slightly or check. Multi-way, this is a bit weird now. I don't mind checking. I don't mind betting. Honestly, this is where a point where it doesn't make too much difference. I probably would have sized up slightly, like kind of sort of 40 to 60%, but like again, it doesn't make too much difference. I would now be checking this turn. It's very difficult multi-way to be accumulating value from a lot of worse, and we also just want to control the size of the pot, and this check would protect our checks. Again, do you see, what I said before, you have got a tell on yourself. Now I've got a tell on you. Look, see how you're betting small? Because you're like, I don't know if I'm ahead, I think I'm ahead, I don't really want to check, do I want to do this? I'll bet tiny. It's like a comfort size. Like, don't do this. Your hand is not strong enough to go for a bet multi-ways. You bet the flop, great. Now we just check the turn. Allow them to bluff. Allow them to bet worse and allow them to value bet better. Like, just don't, like, you're kind of, it's almost like you've got like a rite of passage. You have to keep betting, like, because you're the aggressor. It's not a thing, like, in a lot of spots, like, especially multi-way. Just, I would check this turn after betting it. And I wouldn't do this tiny dicky size either. You're telling people that you've got a weak hand. Whereas if you, like, just for the sake of argument, imagine you bet 8 or 9. You've got ace queen, you've got aces, and you bet like 10 here. Right, and now you've got queen jack off and you're betting 3.5. It looks weak, and if this guy floated you with like king 10 of hearts, looks at this size, he might raise. You've given him an opportunity to. Whereas if you bet 10 with a bet, at least with any part of your range, when he raises you, it's a bit more credible. But like this, like I would have just checked this turn and called, nice and easy, or check and it checks back. Now I don't know what to do. This is really awkward because this isn't a thing. You see, this is really awkward now because it could just be bluffing you, and if he's value owning you, like with king queen or something, then he's just going to bomb the river probably, and it's just going to be really really horrible. So now I have no clue. I don't know what to do now. Does he have a lot of 7x? No. Does he have a lot of bet queen x? It's not easy because he didn't 3-bet. There's only king queen and ace queen, pocket 5s and some 7x, but it's not that easy. So like I would think this looks bluffy. The population doesn't really make a lot of these super aggressive actions. Maybe he's attacking a small size. I don't know. I just don't know. We check here and then he bets big. It's just a horrible situation again that we put ourselves in. Nothing comes in of any relevance like 4, 5, 6, 8 and 3, 6. None of those should be in range, or perceived in range. Pocket 4 is not really there either. I think he's also confused now. He's either got a really 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 good hand or a complete bluff, but like, see what he does. We're just hoping he checks back, to be honest. Really, if he bets, we either lose. Like, I mean, can I be honest with you? So, I would mark this player, first of all, and just say how wide he's just kind of cold calling and stuff like this. Like, against a small size on the turn, his raise doesn't make any sense. You know what he should do against that size? Just call. Like, I don't understand why people's obsession to raise. Like, he's like, oh, you look weak, so I'm going to raise. But he has a weak hand. So it's, like, he doesn't have a strong hand. He's got a marginal hand. So, like, yeah, he doesn't beat anything for value by raising himself. And he put himself in the bin also. But here I just would have checked the turn. So this can I just say something? I'm gonna make it just real honest. You bet the flop, he calls. You check the turn. He bets the turn. You call. Check the river. He bets the river. You call. There you go. You won. You won even more. You've won more even than you would have done. Like, and it's also just made life so much easier. So that's the way I would have sort of played it. When you're multi-way, you have to give people a bit more credit also. Meanwhile, we have another set. Again, pocket fours. I would probably just fold this. Calling for these sets is just going to hemorrhage you. Absolutely hemorrhage. These are better when you're deeper, really. And also, I'd probably just be 3-betting it mainly, but there you go. Now we flop to set on an ace-high board. Raise. 7, 8, 9, 10. 11's a little bit big, but yeah, okay. Yeah, just big. Any kind of big size is nice. There is also some calling, but you primarily just want to raise. Pocket 4's ace 10 value, and then you've got a bunch of hands like you've got some queen jacks, some king jacks that will also raise some of the time. You could also have a hand like 5-4 suited that could raise some of the time. You do I'll be honest with you, you do mostly play calls in this line because you're dead to, like, you can have 10s and ace 10 and 4s. but you don't have as much tens that wouldn't have 3-bet pre. You don't have any ace king. You 3-bet a lot of ace 4. You 3-bet a lot of ace 10. You 3-bet a lot of ace king and queen. So you don't have aces. You do a lot of calling. But when you have this type of hand, I would be raising it. I'd be raising big. Exploitatively, it's just we get calls from loads of worse. Unfortunately, he bet and folded. Doesn't make any difference. When he's got a bunch of hands that can call, we build a massive pot against it. That's our strategy. That's what we want to do. That looks like it. I've got another tell on the video, and that finishes in 5 seconds, and there's no hands that have started, so I guess we're done. Yes, we are. Excellent. Thank you, guys. Please like, please comment, please subscribe. Check out the Twitch channel and follow. If you've got any comments, please, please, please throw them in the comment section below. It makes a massive difference. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.